Life, as Michel de Montaigne might patiently point out from the Circular Tower Library, where he withdrew in 1571 to confront his own mind, is less a tidy chessboard and more a boundless ocean blown by shifting winds, and nothing warps the keel of a human spirit faster than the stubborn fantasy that we can command every gust. Once we drop that illusion, once we surrender the need to tie each wave to a reliable schedule, everything changes. Decisions feel lighter, creativity blooms, fear shrinks to its proper size, and what once looked like chaos begins to resemble a vast, shimmering playground of possibility, for uncertainty is no longer the enemy, but the raw material of growth, adventure, and genuine freedom. Montaigne captured this alchemy in a single modest question that he penciled beside dozens of reflections. Que sais-je? What do I know? A self-mocking refrain that undercut the pompous pronouncements of his age and laid the groundwork for modern skepticism. Yet far from paralyzing him, this confession of ignorance granted him the latitude to roam intellectually, morally, and emotionally without the brittle armor of premature certainty. To appreciate his relevance, we must understand that in the 16th century, France convulsed with plague, civil war, and theological schism. So our modern headlines, pandemics, climate disruption, AI job displacement, geopolitical tremors, would have felt eerily familiar to the man who, from behind his thick stone walls, watched neighbor turn upon neighbor in the wars of religion. Like us, he inhabited what the psychologist Jonathan Haidt calls a moral confabulation machine, a mind wired to spin tidy stories. But Montaigne refused to let that machine run unchecked. He wrote himself notes on the beams above his desk, reminding him that even the senses lie, that memory distorts, that the wisest path is to treat convictions like wine barrels left open to the air, exposed, aerated, allowed to breathe and evolve. Today, neuroscience vindicates his stance, revealing that the brain is not a camera, passively recording fact, but a prediction engine incessantly fabricating models, rewarding pattern fit with comforting dopamine and punishing ambiguity with cortisol, a cascade of stress chemicals originally useful on the savannah, but now triggered by a late-night email from a terse boss or a market graph dripping deep red, phenomena that cannot literally kill us, yet hijack our physiology as if we are prey. Montaigne, with quill not fMRI, forecast the same when he chuckled that my life has been full of terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened, a line that deserves to be recited like a mantra every time speculation about tomorrow jackhammers our peace. The genius of embracing uncertainty is that it cuts the cord between imagination and suffering. Events may still surprise us, but they no longer crush us, because we have practiced dancing with the unknown, treating every unexpected twist as an instructor and every failure as data. To cultivate that stance, we can lean on three interlocking mindset shifts, from fortress to laboratory, from self-critic to self-companion, and from linear path to portfolio life, each of which Montaigne modeled centuries before modern management gurus christened similar ideas with shiny acronyms. First, the fortress to laboratory pivot. Picture a medieval stronghold, walls thick, gate drawn up, archers vigilant. This is how many of us arrange our days, hoarding backup plans, color-coding calendars, demanding ironclad guarantees from lovers, employers, markets, even weather apps, and still we toss at night when a single variable refuses to salute. Now, imagine a bright, bustling lab bench where flasks fizz, prototypes fizzle, and white-coated researchers scribble observations, smiling when an experiment flops because the negative result is as instructive as success. Montaigne transformed his very home into such a cognitive lab, nailing ancient quotations to the beams so he could test every hunch against multiple perspectives, and editing his essays across decades in an ongoing conversation with himself. If we do likewise, setting objectives as hypotheses rather than verdicts, we convert setbacks into neutral feedback. The project didn't bomb, it delivered information. The relationship didn't collapse, it produced clarity. The rejected job application didn't embarrass us, it saved months of misalignment. Entrepreneurs call this pivoting, software devs call it iteration, scientists call it falsifiability, but the root principle is the same. Reality is the final arbiter, so we might as well treat it like a co-author rather than a judge. Second, the self-critic to self-companion shift. Montaigne insisted that other people do not see you at all. They guess at you by uncertain conjectures, which means that external judgment is a house built on fog, yet many of us internalize that fog as though it were granite, hearing an offhand remark and erecting entire cathedrals of shame around it. A kinder strategy is radical friendship with oneself, not the saccharine affirmation culture of posters, but a robust inner partnership that speaks with the candor, patience, and tactical inventiveness we offer to loved ones. Neuroscience again backs him up. Studies at UCLA show that self-compassion dampens the amygdala's fight-or-flight reactivity, freeing the prefrontal cortex for creative problem-solving, which means that talking to yourself like a teammate is a performance hack, not just a moral nicety. A simple daily practice is the uncertainty debrief. Jot one surprising event, record your knee-jerk narrative, then rewrite that story from the standpoint of a gentle coach. Interesting. The meeting derailed, so what micro-experiment can we run tomorrow? And watch how quickly fear transfigures into curiosity. Third, the linear path to portfolio pivot. 20th century economies rewarded single-track resumes, 20 years at the plant, the gold watch, the pension, but the data landscape now moves in cloud-shaped bursts, industries balloon and burst, and identity welded to one silo leaves us brittle. Montaigne's resume would read like a modern LinkedIn polygraph: magistrate, mayor, diplomat, horse breeder, essayist, quasi-retired philosopher, and each role cross-pollinated the next. You can replicate that resilience with a skills matrix on paper or spreadsheet. Column 1 lists strengths that currently pay the bills. Column 2 lists emerging fascinations. Column 3 lists speculative projects you'll test within 90 days. Commit to migrating one line rightward each quarter. Graphic design from curiosity to competence, public speaking from competence to monetizable service, coding from paid skill to ownership of a SaaS side hustle. The mind absorbs, the network widens, the income basket diversifies, and future shocks lose fangs. Stories cement theory, so consider these. Miles Davis, mid-concert, allowed an awkward silence to sprawl until the crowd fidgeted, then punctured it with a single offbeat note, birthing an iconic solo. Uncertainty was his paint. YouTube began as a dating site called TuneIn Hookup, pivoted when the founders noticed cat videos, and sold to Google for $1.65 billion. Uncertainty financed their yacht. J.K. Rowling penned Harry Potter on cafe napkins, unemployed and grieving, trusting only that words on a page beat despair in her head. Uncertainty minted a cultural empire. Those grand tales mirror micro-stories in your own timeline. The coffee shop chat that led to a dream internship. The wrong turn on vacation that ended with a lifelong friend. The breakup that forced you into a city where you met a mentor. The layoff that catapulted you into freelance freedom. Plot those points and notice a pattern. Growth correlates with surrender, not certainty. To operationalize surrender, layer 8 habits. Micro risk ritual, memento finum, random walk learning, scenario sprint, stoic scheduling, community brain trust, body first reset, and detour celebration. Each explained in 60 seconds. First, wake daily and perform one small action that might bomb. Pitch an editor. Reach out on LinkedIn. Approach a stranger with kindness. Second, envision the realistic worst case, not Hollywood horror, but plausible inconvenience. And ask, could I handle that? Often yes. Third, allocate an hour weekly for curiosity without goal, physics lecture, pottery class, medieval history podcast, because creativity arises at intersections. Fourth, for any major decision, map 3 futures: bleak, middling, spectacular, and sketch tiny commitments that work in all 3, loosening attachment. Fifth, block a chaos hour, so surprise has a container. Sixth, curate a triad of diverse thinkers to vet dilemmas. Seventh, treat physiology as motherboard. Calm breath equals quick cognition, so jump rope, swim, or cold plunge before negotiations. Eighth, list weekly surprises and write one silver lining each. rewires attention to hunt upside. Yet none of these tactics matter if we fail the meta lesson. Uncertainty is perennial, but alarm is optional. Platforms peddle algorithmic crystal balls, 10-step hacks, guaranteed returns, flawless routines of billionaires. Yet Montaigne's wry smile warns that such promises are cotton candy that dissolves on contact with the first gust of real life. Better to cultivate anti-fragility, Nassim Taleb's term for systems that benefit from disorder, systems like muscles that grow under strain and minds that sharpen through paradox. Research from Stanford's Carol Dweck shows that growth mindset, believing abilities can develop, not only improves academic outcomes, but inoculates against anxiety because setback becomes signal. Montaigne practiced this in ink, revising essays until the last print run of his life. His text literally evolving after publication, embodying the belief that ideas are living meadows, not marble statues. In digital culture, we can mimic him by treating social feeds as draft notebooks, sharing experiments rather than polished personas. Authenticity builds deeper trust and invites co-creation, which multiplies resources for navigating the unknown. At this juncture, skeptics protest, "Lovely philosophy, but I have bills, deadlines, children, uncertainty costs, not liberates." And the objection is fair. Risk tolerance differs by context, yet embracing uncertainty need not mean reckless leaps. It means incremental flexibility, diversifying savings, building fermentation-style side hustles, sustaining networks across industries, practicing transparent communication, so career pivots receive support rather than sabotage. It also means emotional literacy, teaching children and colleagues alike that not knowing is not weakness, but an invitation to collaborate. Harvard studies on intellectual humility reveal that groups where members comfortably say, "I don't know," innovate faster because they avoid the sunk cost trap of defending obsolete notions. Montaigne intuited identical dynamics during diplomatic missions, noting that rigid theologians extended wars while pragmatic negotiators de-escalated by admitting partial ignorance. Layer in resonance from other thinkers. Albert Einstein, in the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Bruce Lee, be water, my friend. Eleanor Roosevelt, do one thing every day that scares you. Buddha, better than 1,000 hollow words is one word that brings peace. Viktor Frankl, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Each echoes Montaigne's anthem, but across continents and centuries, suggesting a transcultural consensus that flexibility is the crucible of wisdom. Even technological discourse corroborates it. Agile software development, lean manufacturing, DevOps, design thinking, every methodology that dominates modern production aligns with the lab over fortress stance. The meta-trend is unmistakable. Let us therefore weave the conceptual threads into a 7-day field test. Day 1, publish something imperfect, a Medium post, a sketch on Instagram, to inoculate against perfectionism. Day 2, take a phone-free wander with no set route, allowing boredom to spark insight. Day 3, pick a micro skill, a magic trick, a phrase in Swahili, a juggling pattern, and learn it in an hour. Day 4, message a distant hero with a thoughtful question, embracing the possibility of silence or breakthrough mentorship. Day 5, invert one routine, eat breakfast at sunset, work standing outdoors, read poetry before email. Day 6, attend an event outside your demographic bubble. Day 7, compose a reflection listing the biggest surprise and tagging it. A Montaigne challenge to join global companions. After a week, you will notice subtle shifts, a flicker of excitement where dread used to perch, a readiness to improvise when schedules scramble, an appetite for serendipity. Perhaps the grandest evidence of uncertainty's gift is ecological. Evolution itself thrives on variation, mutation, unpredictability. Species locked into static niches perish when climates shift, but generalists adapt. Humans, by migrating, cooking, storytelling, and tool crafting, turn randomness into rocket fuel. Montaigne's essays are micro-evolutionary leaps in self-awareness, splicing classical stoicism with Renaissance curiosity, seeding Enlightenment empiricism, ultimately fertilizing existentialism and modern psychology. His legacy testifies that personal growth mirrors biological ecosystems. Diversity, experimentation, and feedback keep the system alive. Let me tether theory to a closing vignette. Aisha, a friend whose aviation career evaporated in the COVID-19 lockdowns, could have curled in fetal despair, but instead she asked Montaigne's humbling question, "What do I truly know?" and answered, "I know change is certain and I have a laptop." She enrolled in UX bootcamp, live streamed her beginner blunders, freelanced for coffee money, accepted a junior offer halfway across the world, documented culture shocks on a vlog, iterated again into product strategy, and 3 years later funds her wanderlust by consulting remotely. Each pivot contains sleepless nights, yet she recalls the anxiety as adrenaline, not agony, because she reframed each cliff as a vista. Montaigne would applaud. Life as apprenticeship in ambiguity, mastery not a finish line, but a continuum. If you remember only 3 things from this 6,000-word odyssey, let them be these. 1. Uncertainty is the canvas, not the stain. 2. Treat every plan as a hypothesis and every surprise as an instructor. 3. Self-trust born of curiosity outperforms brittle expertise. Breathe these axioms into your calendar, your friendships, your late-night doubts, and watch the weight on your shoulders lighten, problems shrink to puzzles, risks relabel as adventures, and you become confident not in predicting storms, but in sailing through them. Montaigne, peering across 5 centuries, would nod and whisper that belonging firmly to oneself, while flowing freely with circumstance, is the highest form of practical philosophy, an art as relevant in an age of quantum computing as it was in candlelit Bordeaux. So, inhale, square your shoulders, smile at the ridge of horizon you cannot yet map, and step forward. Because life, brimming with uncertainty, is waiting for your fearless, playful, relentlessly adaptive embrace.